I have no clue what I'm doing on this podcast. Apparently, I press wrong buttons all the time. But welcome to another episode of the Popcorn People Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to celebrate the Wicked and Gladiator II weekend by talking about both films. We're also going to talk about some of the films that we have recently watched across the board. It is award season for us as we are both voting members of the Critics' Choice Association. Speaking of that, I am joined by my partner here, Mr. Don Fisher. How are you, man?
What's popping, Colonels? We're on the the eve, I guess, of Thanksgiving, Turkey Day, whatever you want to call it. Really, it's just a day for us to gain those 5 to 10 pounds that we lost throughout the year. Feel bad about ourselves, but then be happy that we're off work. You know what I mean? Like that's really what it's about. It's spending time with people you enjoy. I don't know. It's going to be weird this year. We all know how Thanksgiving conversations and things end up going. And this is an election year. So it should be interesting. Hey, and if you have a very interesting movie-esque family Thanksgiving scenario, comment or email us. Let us know, because I'm curious to see how all this stuff ends up playing out, especially if you are opposite-minded of a majority of your family and you end up having to be backed into a corner defending the rights of, the rest of us who have rational minds. You feel me?
I feel you. Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that I've hated about this weekend is they've tried so hard to make this Barbie Hammer Part 2. And I'm sorry, but I'm as an avid Gladiator II lover and as a Wicked hater, I loved both Barbie and Oppenheimer. You know what I mean? Like you gotta step up to the plate and really deliver the goods, and you really didn't deliver the goods here, in my opinion. But that we'll get over to that a little bit more, and then of course we're gonna end this week's episode with our blind rankings like we have every week here with Don Fisher. This week's going to be Thanksgiving sides. We are going to obviously be here in the Thanksgiving mood. I have no clue like what Don Fisher eats, so I could have the world's worst sides ever, and he'll just laugh at half these. But that being said, Dom, we talked about it a little bit briefly, but we're going to go ahead and dive into Wicked first before we get into Gladiator. So let's go ahead and do that.
Wicked. Misunderstood because of her green skin, a young woman named Elphaba forges an unlikely but profound friendship with Glinda, a student with an unflinching desire for popularity. Following an encounter with the Wizard of Oz, their relationship soon reaches a crossroad as their lives begin to take a very different path. Directed by John M. Chu. The cast, of course, stars Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande. We have Bowen Yang. We have what's his name? Oh, it's gonna bug me. As Oz, I can't think of his name, and I have it. Oh, there we go. Jeff Goldblum, and we have Jonathan Bailey, who people really love. I'm not really familiar with a dude like that. Michelle Yeoh. If you didn't know, Peter Dinklage is the professor. And a slew of other people. And since you have such strong feelings for this one, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so first things first. We get the quote unquote part 1 at the beginning of the movie, even though the film's only called Wicked, not Wicked Part 1, whatever. I know we had an explanation of why X, Y, and Z, and then there was an explanation of the sound and the colors and all of these other things. If you have to explain certain things about your movie, maybe you should have made the movie a little bit better, but that's neither here or there. For me, at the end of the day, this is, okay, Wicked is not good. All right. And this is my problem with Wicked. Okay. First things first, the first 20 minutes of the movie, maybe it's like the first 5, 10. I don't know. I couldn't understand a single word that Ariana Grande said. She was singing a song and I needed subtitles. That was my first problem. However, I will say this before all of the Ariana Grande people come after me. She does win me over. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of it has to do with Cynthia because she just gives such a great performance in this, and their chemistry is magic. Like, if you take these two out of the picture, you have by far a horrible movie. And it's, to me, 2 hours and 40 minutes is an absurd amount of a movie. PG movie, semi kids, teenage ish movie you have going on. You're promoting it as a kids movie, obviously, as well, because it's you got the clothings, you got the everythings and stuff like that. But you just promoted this movie. And again, the core of the movie is about these two characters, right? Cynthia, Ariana. You got them and you build this incredible story. I think is very profound. There's several different moments. There's the silent moment at the little dance thing that I thought was really powerful. I liked it a lot. I thought that was probably, in my opinion, maybe one of the best, if not the best scenes in the entire movie. However, I just did not care about anybody else. And you have a lot of ancillary pieces. When Cynthia and Ariana are on the screen, the movie's magic. When they're off the screen, or if it's one of them by themselves and it's with an ancillary piece, I just didn't think any of them mattered. I don't think what is it? Jonathan, what? That guy was not good in this movie. Like,
Bailey.
Jonathan Bailey, people are ranting and raving about how great this guy was. And I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. And I don't really see it in anything. Like, I don't know what I was looking at his filmography, and I've never seen him in anything before. He's in Bridgerton, I guess. I didn't know that. But he's just not good in this. Let me just put it to you that way. Michelle Yeoh, I thought she was maybe miscast in this. Very weird. Jeff Goldblum, you build up this character, and it's very stupid. I really don't know what else to say. Like, his whole character arc was dumb. I did love Peter Dinklage as Dr. Dillamond. I thought he was fantastic. I really enjoyed him. I did enjoy Bowman Yang a little bit, and Bowman Yang's sidekick, Nessa Rose, I think is that Nessa Rose? I'm trying to remember who Ariana Grande's two sidekicks were, but they were just kind of like comedic. You know what I mean? They were just kind of funny, but overall, it was a letdown. I don't even know if a letdown is even the right thing, but the chemistry between Cynthia and Ariana, it just doesn't save the movie from being bad. They're electric on screen, but it just suffers when they're not on there. I'm intrigued to see what's in store for a part two, only based off of that chemistry and the idea of maybe them going head to head, obviously, as we probably can anticipate with the ending the way it was. But ultimately, yeah, Wicked, I think I landed on like a 2.5 stars. And honestly, it's only because of those two. But outside of that, that thing was a steaming pile of shit.
Yeah, I don't feel as strongly as my compadre Ricky does. There was some of the stuff I do agree with. I think one of the things we first talked about after the movie, I think I looked over and I was like, did you understand like some of the words and some of the songs? Because I thought, like, because we're in a Dolby theater and the sound is amazing, but those high notes, at some point I was just like, my ear, I have this, like, I don't know, a lot of people have that little weird thing you can do with your ears where it sounds kind of like thunder. I was doing that with my ears because it was so high pitched. I was like, I can't, it's hurting my ears. So there's words that I didn't know what she said, and I found out what she was saying when I went and listened to this the music on Apple Music. I was like, oh, I can understand it now because I have the lyrics here. I did really enjoy Cynthia and Ariana. Their chemistry performances fantastic. Their press tour, it's a little weird. It's a little weird. But like they mess with each other real heavy. So I can't, you can't knock it too much, but it does feel a little awkward because we're not used to seeing that. We're used to seeing stars that are like kind of cold sometimes because they go repetitive questions and they are like, yeah, trying to get through it. And these two seem to be like really relishing the moments that they have together. So that is what it is. I overlooked a lot of its shortcomings that I have because of the story of what it was trying to do, because I know originally it was trying to, it was like an allegory almost for the rise of the Third Reich, right? And Hitler and this cult of personality who is Oz. And now in 2024, we have the same thing we've been seeing with, Mr. Orange Man. And so that kind of, and of course, it doesn't get to that as early as I would like to. But it does have that stuff where it's leading to it with like, because you can take like them. Which is not really spoiling anything because the musical's been out for so long. But with like the animals can talk and their teachers and people, they worked hand in hand with the animals, and now they are trying to silence them. And you can interject any marginalized community as the animals in this story as being snatched away, silenced because the powers that be want the majority to have an enemy, and you make the enemy the other, right? And that's what I really enjoyed. And then, of course, Cynthia playing Elphaba makes so much sense because the green skin, yeah, I mean, of course, it could have been anybody, but it's like black people, right? This is what is alluding to, and having a black actress play this role just makes sense. And I don't think there's anybody who acts on a regular basis that has a better voice than Cynthia. She outsings everybody. You can say that Ariana's close, but I don't think so. I don't think Ariana, as great of a singer she is, can hit those same notes. That one note that we all saw in the trailer, the whatever it is at the end, dude, it lives in my head like all the time. Um, but yeah, some of the musical numbers, they overstay the welcome. Like the library one, it felt so long, and I understand you wanted us to be dazzled about the set pieces because it looked cool with the little circular library thing, and it looks great. But it was just like this song feels like it's 5 minutes long. It don't need to be this long. The Jonathan Bailey character or the actor, sorry, bro. I don't for one. I didn't get heartthrob from him. Like he didn't exude that natural confidence to me. It seemed like he was trying too hard to be charming, which could be like, oh, he's hiding something. But I don't know, man. It wasn't the same for me. I know that they wanted to. It has two parts because they wanted to dive into Shiz University and really get us to see what it's like in there and get us to see the Emerald City, and which is fine, but I think there's a way to do it where you fit this entire story into one movie. Maybe the movie is 3 hours and 15 minutes, but it's still one movie. Because I did send my review to a couple of friends of mine that had seen the musical a number of times, and I'm like, "How long is the musical?" And they're like, "Oh, it's like 3 hours and some change." And I'm like, I said like, "This is how part one ends." And they're like, "Oh yeah, so if that's where it ends, the second movie is gonna be over 2 hours long." And I was like, "Oh, all right, all right." So that's the big thing. It's the runtime, and I know I've seen arguments of like these other movies had part twos, but that's because it was new. Like I think one of the ones I saw was Kill Bill. That's a new story. People know Wicked and go, why is there two parts? Kill Bill, we didn't know. We just thought it was a movie, and then they go, oh, volume one, maybe there's a two. We didn't know, and because it's a new thing, this is established, and yeah, I don't. I mean, it unfolds in a manner that isn't um it's somewhat pleasing, but I think just it stretched some things that didn't need to be stretched. Um, but I assume that the part two will have a lot more meat to it because this one it felt like Mean Girls. It felt like Mean Girls. She's a new girl at school. She's different. Why is she so special? People like her. I'm special. And then that was the first thing I said. I was like, Glinda gives off Mean Girls vibes. Like this is 100% like, why do people like her? And I also got Wednesday vibes too from the Shiz University. So I mean, it has its positives, but I do think that it is. I know people love it, but you have to take some way of your love of the musical and really look at like the aspects of what makes this film. Because as much as you want to give it 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, it's just not that, right? You can love something wholeheartedly and know that it's not like the best thing. You know what I mean? And this just happens to not be the best thing. I'm still intrigued. I'm still curious because I have not familiar with the stage musical, and I will go see it at some point. I meant to last year, didn't get a chance to go. Um, but yeah, for me, the shining beacon is Cynthia Erivo. Jeff Goldblum, I love Jeff Goldblum, but he did not work his eyes. He was just playing like himself in those apartment.com commercials. Like, oh, hey, I'm right here. Look at the stuff we're going to do. And I was like, I don't know. He did the big giant ass head did look really good, though. That looked phenomenal. And I wish they would have used
Yeah,
it
that was
longer.
yeah,
Why
because
didn't
it felt so useless. It felt like
Yeah.
it was such a cool introduction, and how they introduced it was really cool. But then it was just like, oh, like that's all we're doing. It's really just a thing to be. It was just there. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
why I
kind of
put
weird.
the picture in my review, because it had them really small and you could see kind of the face through the curtain, and I was like, man, that looks really cool. I wonder if people will actually notice in that picture that head's there, because it looked cool as shit. But yeah, it was like there for 10 seconds, and that was it.
Yeah, it was such a waste. It just was a waste. Period. You know what I mean? Like
I will
I didn't.
say, out of the musicals that we have talked about, uh, whether on here or in person, this is the first one where I don't have a favorite song. I don't have that one song that like I'm gonna go listen to that. You know what
Can
I
I be
mean?
honest with you? I just want to take this moment to be honest with you. I don't. The only thing that reminds me, and it's because I've seen the trailer like pop up from time to time as like I defy gravity. That's like the
Yeah.
only like lyric that I. None of the songs are memorable, like at all. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
this is coming from a guy that I thought Into the Heights wasn't very good either. So like this isn't really surprising me that John Chu didn't really deliver here either. But on the flip side, we have another film that was released this weekend. Dom, give the goods to the people about the film before we talk about it.
All right, Gladiator II, directed by the one and only Ridley Scott. Years after witnessing the death of Maximus at the hands of his uncle, Lucius must enter the Colosseum after the powerful emperors of Rome conquer his home. With rage in his heart and the future of the empire at stake, he looks to the past to find the strength and honor needed to return the glory of Rome to its people. The film stars Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, or Denzel. He said his real name is Denzel. I'm gonna say Denzel. Pedro Pascal, Connie Nielsen, Joseph Quinn, Fred Heckinger, I think that's how you say it, and Peter Mensah and Alexander Karim, who I interviewed. So if you want to check that out, y'all Geek Vibes Nation YouTube. Um, yeah, so Gladiator for many of us, and I mean like a whole generation of us, it's one of the best movies we ever saw. Right? It was it was dramatic. It was sad. It was bloody. It was like uplifting. Like that mask is iconic. When you see that mask, you either think MF Doom or you think Maximus. Um, and something doing a sequel to a movie like that, just 25 years later, I think that's the way you do a sequel. If you're gonna do a sequel to something so big, you wait a long time. Now, this to me, it didn't hit all the same notes that I expected it to, because it is hard to follow up something that's that monumental. Now, on scale, the film stunning. I mean, the Colosseum scenes. I mean, the outfits. Uh, just Rome is alive in this movie. from like the chaos to the people wanting their city back. Um, Denzel to me, Denzel Washington. I feel like this is his movie. I feel like the story should have been crafted around his character, and Paul's Lucius could have been a secondary story, and then they eventually intertwine. Because when we find out certain things, you like, holy shit. And plus, Washington just commands every scene he's in, from his mannerisms to like the swag he has. Like everything about his character is exactly what we love Denzel Washington. Now, a lot of the film to me kind of felt, when it came to Lucius's story arc, felt very similar to Gladiator. Like they're trying to recapture that magic, and it didn't have the emotional heft or pull for me. And it felt like at certain points they rushed some things. But I mean, it's one of those films where I can never say that I wholeheartedly disliked it. I could never say I hated it, because there was a lot of things I liked. And when you watch the Gladiator film, a lot of it too, you want to see these epic battles, and we did get some great battles. The only thing I was really disappointed in the whole movie was the emperors, because I thought the way that they were built up was going to be like this Caligula type of chaotic, and they were a little bit, but they didn't let them go full crazy nuts, and they were trying to capture that same kind of eccentricness that Joaquin Phoenix had, and it just didn't hit the same, even with two of them. But I mean, I had a lot of fun. I think that there was a lot to take away from it. I just think that it just couldn't hit those same beats, because it was trying to do a lot. And I wouldn't have been mad if they made this 15 minutes longer, and you can kind of, cook a little bit longer. But I mean, I had a good time. Paul's performance I thought was good. It wasn't the same level that we got from, I can't think of his name now. To play Maximus, but
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Yeah, it wasn't on the same level, but Paul is phenomenal. He commands the screen as well. So when he talks, when he's moving, you pay attention. But yeah, it's definitely one to see in IMAX, because that's what it was made for. This grand, everything about it grand. But yeah, it just fell a little short for me, unfortunately. But when I watch it again, yeah, I'd watch it again.
Yeah, for me, I saw this a little bit ago, and to me, I understand a lot of what some of the complaints are with the movie, but for me personally, I felt like a lot of the complaints that we're seeing across the board are some of the things that I thought that I disagree with quite a bit. As somebody that isn't the biggest Paul Mescal fan, I really felt like his grounded approach to the film really added such an interesting layer that I wasn't kind of expecting. You know what I mean? For me, he kind of stood out in a very grounded and rooted way in this big and large film. I wasn't sure what to expect from him. One of the biggest things that I don't see a lot of people talking about that I felt was really bad in this movie, and he was horribly miscast, was Pedro Pascal. I thought he was god awful in this movie. Like he was so bad in the movie that like it almost knocked it a star down just for me, because he felt out of place. He felt it was just awkward. The wrong person. It was awkward. Exactly. Like every time he was on the screen, I'm like, this is the guy. Like, this is the guy. You know what I mean? And then it almost even felt when you get ready to, the battle happens. And if you watch it, you see, and I don't want to go spoil it. I don't really know if it's a spoiler, but when the battle happens, I'm like, this is the guy.
I know.
I'm like, this is I felt like he really should have just he could have mopped the floor with him in like 3 seconds. You know what I mean?
He felt like he had not one badass bone in his body. He's felt like for him to be this big general, he felt like the weakest person in the movie, like personality wise. Everything about it was just like
It
it
was
don't fit. It don't fit.
exactly, and it's weird. I don't know. I just didn't feel like this is all. I don't know. I just again, I didn't feel like his character really brought anything to the table that I
No.
really was interested in, and that to me it was such a weak point because his character was such a pivotal piece to the whole entire pie. Right? You have to utilize him to get to the next level of understanding so many different things about the pieces. Now, Denzel Washington. Let's talk about that man. Listen to me. I want everybody to understand this. When you are as good as you are, as when you're as good as Denzel Washington is, you don't have to take on characters like this in your career anymore. You've already won Oscars. You've already been nominated. In my opinion, Denzel Washington is the greatest actor to have ever lived. It's to me, it's not even close because you've never seen the range. Training Day, Malcolm X, even fun movies, Two Guns. He's been in comedy. He's been serious. He's been in plays. He's played like movies. I wish I am going to do anything I possibly can to get him to go to New York and see him and Gyllenhaal
Broadway. Yeah.
on Broadway together. This man does not have to perform at the level of which that he does in this movie. He outshines everybody. And I think the thing about it is that like this is Denzel's movie. It's like you're right. It is. It's part of his story. His story is it leads to the battle with him and Paul. Like it makes plenty of sense of why he is where he is and why he's doing what he is doing. He's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Like if you didn't watch this and get like a Game of Thrones atmosphere, you know what I mean? Like it, which was fantastic. I just loved everything about what Denzel brought to the table. Denzel is gotta be in the leader in the clubhouse of being nominated for an Academy Award again, and maybe in the conversation to win. It'll be up for grabs. There's a lot of movies and moving pieces, but looking at the big board in Vegas of like the performances for supporting actor right now, Guy Pearce, the Brutalist, Clarence Macklin, Sing Sing, Denzel Washington, Jeremy Strong, The Apprentice, Samuel Jackson, The Piano Lesson, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, which is probably my favorite. Culkin and Washington are probably 1 and 2. And then Euro Borsov for Honora, which was, I don't even understand why it's even on the list. But the list goes on and on. But still, to me, it's he's in the conversation. This film, to me, is exactly what I wanted it to be. It reminded me of Top Gun Maverick, that it brought such a heavy element into it. The only difference between that and was this, there was a heavier emotional mix that wasn't there. I agree with that aspect of things. And that's why looking back on it, I love this movie, but it was very good, but it could have been great. And I think there's just a few small pieces here. And then, Jackie, thank you for the comment here. I haven't seen it yet. However, it certainly won't meet expectations, but it shouldn't. Gladiator was a masterpiece from the score sometime with the character. And exactly, that's the thing, though. That the problem is, and this is one of my biggest problems with movies nowadays, with the remakes, the redones, and all of this stuff. Did we need a Gladiator 2? After watching it, yes, I did. I did need a Gladiator 2 because you've got Denzel Washington acting his ass off in a way that you've never seen him before. You know what I mean? Like never. Yeah. You've never seen Denzel play this character like this ever in any movie in the 30 or 40 years he's been acting. You've never seen him anything like this. So to me, that's why you have to be able to separate the two. You have to be able to. It's hard because they do intertwine a little bit, and I didn't mind the intertwining, honestly. Yeah. But yeah, just to catch up with some comments here. Wicked carrying domestic. International audience aren't showing up supporting the film no matter how good the reviews are. Well, you got to understand. So it doesn't surprise me that this film's not doing as well overseas as it is going to do stateside. Did 6.7 or 17.6 in the UK. That's perfect. Australia, South Korea, Mexico, Brazil, Philippines, Spain, Italy, Indonesia. Those are all decent. We're only doing 50 million world on the international side of things in the first month or the first weekend, which is not overly surprising. But I do think, though, as a collective whole, I mean, it's going to make money. It'll do very well during the holidays. It does have some competition with Moana, but I do think my thing is with Wicked, it does battle the 2 hour and 40 minute mark. You know what I mean? That is such a big long
especially
run time.
if you're marketing it towards a younger crowd. Can you get a 13, 14-year-old to sit still for almost 3 hours without looking at their phone, getting up,
Especially
having to
with
go to the
Moana,
bathroom?
you have and then on top of that, you have the amount of money it takes to the box office. So it's like, all right, honey, like daughter, you talk to your daughter, your son, do you want to go see Wicked or do you want to go see Moana 2?
Yeah,
Most people, most families can afford both. Moana 2 is only it's coming out in 3 days. I
yep,
think it's even got as early as Tuesday night screenings. So because of that, it's like, oh yeah, and then Moana, oh shit, look, let me look at that. Oh, it says 1 hour and 40 minutes, one less hour. 240 with trailers to with transit, you're talking 3.5 hours. So
yep.
it's a hard sell, especially with families and stuff like that. So it doesn't really surprise me. All right, Dom. This has been a battle back and forth with what we're watching, and I'm trying to we're trying to fit in as much as we can over the last week. We saw a big movie on Monday, but give me the most recent movies you've seen. A couple lines about each of them. Maybe give me some ratings along the way. What do you got for me?
So I finally watched the piano lesson. I really enjoyed it, and so okay, so it's one of those movies where it triggers a lot of thoughts because there was some thought processes that I didn't consider, especially people post like 2 generations removed from slavery and some of the mindsets that could possibly be taking place. Specifically, was it Boy Willie, which was it triggered some things, and then it's supernatural approach. I loved it. I loved it. That was and Jonathan David Washington does a great job. Daniel Detweiler is phenomenal. Like it's like we're seeing this new wave of black actors that are at a height that no one's talking about right now, starting to kind of take over. I didn't finish it, but I did start watching Last Showgirl, Pamela Anderson, Brenda Song, Kiernan Shipka, and it's very I'm it's, it's very awkward a little bit because I don't know, man. Pamela's voice in that movie, the kind of
It's so bad.
the
It's so bad. I'll say
whininess,
it for you, Dom. Her voice is so fucking annoying. Okay, sorry.
it's whiny. The story seems interesting, but her just whining is I don't know, man. Her acting is not bad, but the whining is terrible. I just don't know why they're doing it the way they're doing it. What else did I watch? Oh, I mean, we saw Nickel Boys, and look, the movie pissed me off. That movie made me so mad. And the crazy part is, I think what this movie is does in a great way is it tells a very powerful story in the subtlest of ways. And the only people that will really get mad are people who understand what's going on. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're from because you can understand what's going on. But if you don't read between the lines in certain aspects, because it doesn't want to be aggressive. Like there's one specific scene where I really don't have much I can say, but there's a scene where some SA takes place and some sexual assault, and it's if you blink and you miss it. And besides them at some point verbally saying it, it's done in a way where you're like, hold on, what the hell did just happen? Uh, yeah, it's a powerful movie. Um, it I don't know, man. It's one of those movies where I want to watch it again because I want to show people. I want to have conversations with people, but then I don't want to put myself through that mentally, because a story like this, I personally I transfer myself back to this time, Jim Crow South, in these people's shoes, and like, could I have survived? Would I have, you know, taken the high road in certain instances and tried not to go on a damn rampage because it was bullshit what was taking place. Um, Other than that, like, I've been trying to catch up on. I started watching Cross, and I reached out to Aldous Hodge just to tell him congratulations a couple weeks ago that he had, got the show. Show's fantastic. What the fuck? Like, Reacher, fantastic. Cross, fantastic. I don't know if the James Patterson books are this good or these guys are just making these shows this fantastic, but like, it's about fucking time that Aldous Hodge is getting the limelight. This dude has been good for a long time, but he was in this, and I'm gonna say it. It's because he's a dark skinned brother. They don't get the same amount of love. But like, when you watch like that show Leverage, he's phenomenal on the show, and you only get to see him and his brother. His brother's great too. You only see them here and there, but like, all this has finally taken off. I know they got their production company, and he's doing watches and all these things. But if you haven't watched Cross, fantastic, dude. It's so good, and it draws you in really, really quickly. Other than that, I've been kind of saving my energy for the week, because I know I need to watch like 2 to 3 movies a day, and yeah, I would try to, I had a Friendsgiving on Saturday, and so I'm trying to like, all right, this week I'm finna power up. I have this movie Werewolves I gotta watch that comes out next month, and something else very recent. I forgot what I've watched some other shit. I can't remember. There's been so much.
Yeah, so obviously the week started with Ramil Ross's Nickel Boys, and I'm just gonna point out this. It's one of the best directed movies of the year. The thing about it, what worries me the most about this movie is the lack of respect that I've seen it get. Like,
Yeah,
this movie should be at the forefront of every awards thing. Not even talking about the elements of the story. Like, let's separate that for just 5 seconds. If you watch this movie, this is directed like nothing we've ever seen before.
that's true. That's very true.
It puts viewers in this first person element of everything these characters are going through. And you touched on it a little bit, what I found very interesting in how he shot it, because again, he shoots it in this, like, you're literally playing a video game, damn near. Yeah. In the first person move, he allows the sounds of all of these horrendous things to fill your mind. You're not seeing it. It's such a visual experience, but yet such a visceral experience at the same time, because he doesn't show a lot of what you kind of anticipate and you typically see in these style of movies. And I think it's in a good way, in some ways, but I think in a more effective way. Like, for me, as watching this, and obviously Dom connects more emotionally, and as he says, he puts himself in the shoes. I can't do that, but I can see everything transpiring as the film goes on, and understand the horrible things that go on through these stories, and understanding that this wasn't that long ago, people. And it's just such a, I don't know, it's such a unique experience. I swear to God, like, I've seen thousands of movies and I've never seen anything shot like this in my
I was literally tense the
entire time.
I was like sweating. I was like, what the fuck?
Right, because you feel like you are in their shoes, and it's and the the way that he shoots it, he gets to play with the characters and how he does things, and how unique that he tells the story, and how you really have to pay attention to the characters, because of how things there's cards shuffling, there's stories unpacking that have a lot to do with what we're watching, but it also has a lot to do with the idea of what's transpiring. And you don't really, if you don't pay attention, you don't pick up on things, because there's certain things, and I'm not going to go into detail because we'll talk more about it when the movie's more accessible to the audiences. But how he, and I hate to use the same reference as I did with Denzel, like how he plays chess with his people in the movie,
Yeah.
like he moves them how he wants them to move, and then he also has like this illusion act of showing you what he wants you to see, but if you blink fast enough you'll miss it, but then he'll show you things that are like happening in real time, and then you're like, oh wait a
Yeah.
minute, that's this and that, and it's
Yeah,
crazy to me.
without telling you the exact time frame in like 1960 this, 1960
Yep.
that, you get to go, oh, this is all taking place while this is happening. Like these boys are like stuck in a time capsule and the world is moving on without them. And Anjanou Ellis, every time I don't I've never had this like experience or relationship with an actor or actress that every time she's on screen, I want to one hug her and cry every single time. I don't
Mhm.
know if that's just like
Mhm.
a testament to her acting ability or the role she. I don't know what it is, but every time I see her, I'm just like, yo, what auntie? Like what? Who? Like what's up? I'll fight for you. What's good?
Yeah, she's fantastic, and to me it's crazy because it's like the entire ensemble's great, and like performance wise, there's some that are better. It's hard to identify like the great performances of it
Yeah.
because it's so multi-layered. But it's such a phenomenal film. But I did watch The Last Showgirl. That movie was, it had all the tools to be good, and it's just not there. Like Pamela Anderson is objectively bad in this movie. And I've seen so many people talk about the resurgence and the, oh my God, I'm sorry, I couldn't get over her voice. It was
Yeah.
whiny, and it was not, and it's not like whiny. I don't know. It was like nails on chalkboard. That's the only thing I can compare it to. The movie's not good either. I feel like they had an idea and it just lacked execution. I feel like it's almost like a tame version of The Substance. It's
Yeah,
almost,
that's
if you
what
think
I was
about the
thinking
story
too.
structure, it's the same exact movie,
Hmm.
except for it's like a PG version of The Substance, which is an R, which I mean, obviously Showgirl, it's not PG at all. But and the last one I'll talk about is September 5. I don't know how much I can talk in depth about
I
this,
kept
but
hearing about that, and I saw it when it came through the email, and I was like,
yeah,
"Ooh, I need to watch this," because I think it was a Naz that was talking about it, or somebody I saw, Naz Perez maybe, and I was like,
yeah,
"Oh, that looks like it's important."
yeah, and it sucked.
Oh
Um,
no!
I don't know. I've seen a lot of people talk about it, how good it is. I wouldn't say it sucked. I feel like it has moments, but it feels severely underdeveloped, underwritten. The tension to me didn't lock you in enough to really feel everything that's going on, right? We've seen many great journalism films that build up this entire momentum throughout the entire film, and it didn't feel connective enough for me to really feel um to latch on, right? It's a movie that should more than likely make you like feel something at the end of the movie, but it's not the way that it should have been because of how it's built up. I didn't like it. I think I landed on like 2.5 stars. It's such a gut wrenching true story that I feel like it deserved more than what they gave. And I've seen, but I mean, to each its own. I've seen a lot of people talk about great things about it. So it is what it is. So got a lot more to check out. I've got a list of movies that I'm slowly trying to knock out one by one, and
I
it's hard.
counted like the other day. I know it's around like 20. I say 20 that like I know that like I want to watch that are
Yeah.
important, and
Mhm.
probably about a good 15 of those are possibly award contenders. So
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, like we got, I'm very excited that we're gonna get to see a complete unknown before our
yeah,
voting time for Critics' Choice, which I think our ballots are due. I think December 10th. I think it is. Is that correct?
I think so, something like that.
Yeah. So with that, I'm definitely intrigued to see what's going to happen with that. But hopefully, we get to see a lot more between now and then. But folks, we know what time it is. It's your favorite part of the podcast. We are going to go into blind rankings, folks. All right, folks, the holiday season is upon us for Thanksgiving, and I figured out what better way to do blind rankings than with Thanksgiving sides. What I want to start off with, we're going to do this one a little bit different since we are doing food. We're going to do sides, but are you a turkey or a ham guy?
It's interesting because it really depends on who made it. Because I'm not too keen on either one when it comes to Thanksgiving. Like, of course, with deli meat, I'll eat either one. I usually lean more turkey. When it comes
That
to
shit
deli
can be
meat,
dry sometimes, though. You
I
know what I
know,
mean?
but yeah, Thanksgiving wise, like turkey because there's usually gravy. And my homie had made a bomb ass turkey yesterday, so like I'll lean turkey for now.
Yeah, I'm very. It varies for me too. I'm not a big. I'm more of a sides guy on
Me
Thanksgiving.
too.
So I'm definitely more of a side. And I'm very picky about my sides too. I will say this: I do make the best mac and cheese in the entire world, folks. I really do. My mac and cheese would win awards at families' houses.
And
So
my wife just made so we had been preparing to go to my sister's crib for Thanksgiving, so we were like trying to get a mac and cheese recipe together because we were like I ain't gonna say who made it last year, but it wasn't great, okay. And they was trying something new, and I was like, you don't try nothing new on Thanksgiving.
no,
And so we have been kind of the past couple weekends trying out some different things. The third time was apparently the charm because we took it to the Friendsgiving, and the first thing everybody said was like, "Who the fuck made this macaroni and cheese?" And I was like, "Oh, my wife did." So
it's
y'all
one of
might
the
have to
sides
have
you
the
don't want to fuck
competition.
up. It's one
Yeah,
of those sides you don't have to fucking. You don't want to fuck up. That's the bet. Like to me,
it's a
that's the cream of the
staple.
crop. You know what I mean? Exactly. You know what I mean? When I go to the table, the first thing I'm looking for is the mac and cheese. You know what I mean? All right, let's see. We got some blind rankings. Obviously, we're going to celebrate Turkey Day. Obviously, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of fun because I like to throw wrenches in Dom's plan. Dom, tell the audience here you have no clue what's on this list, correct?
No, and I'm afraid with the stuff you might put on here.
All right. To be honest with you, I'm going to start it easy with something that is on every single Thanksgiving. And however anybody wants to call it, dressing or stuffing, however you do it, we're going to put dressing and stuffing in right now. Where are we putting it at?
Oh, that's easy. That's number 2 for me. That's one of
Number
my
two.
favorite things.
That
It's so good.
shit's
And
nasty, bro.
when it's done well, it's the best thing on the table. Damn it!
No, it's not. Stuffing is gross, man.
I
I
love
never like stuffing.
it.
It's crazy because like I feel like there's no middle with stuffing. Like either people love it or people hate it. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
So, all right, let's go something. And I caveat this by saying I put green beans, but it's like a vegetable. You know what I mean? Like I
Okay.
don't know. You kind of vary where you're going, like a vegetable of any sort. So green bean, vegetable of any sort.
I'm gonna say 4 because if someone brings some bomb ass greens, oh, I'm there. I'm with it.
All right. Let's go sweet potato casserole.
Ooh. So my mom makes this every year, and it's always really good. I'm gonna say 3.
You hear that, Mama Dom? He put your sweet potato casserole at 3. I'm gonna send her this too. Next time we're at a movie together and we were together, I'm be like, look, he put your sweet potato casserole number 3. I'm just letting you know. Let's go cranberry sauce.
Oh, that's a 6. I don't even know if I've ever really eaten it like that. I've eaten it because I've mixed it with stuff, but I've never been like, I don't think I've ever had like a good sauce because I avoided it until I was in my 20s. When I was a kid, I was like, what is that weird looking jello shit? I don't want that.
It's funny because I remember being a kid and it's like it's on the table every year. Every year we would throw it away. Nobody would eat it. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this being on the
Yup.
table? You know
You
what
gotta
I mean?
have it.
Gotta have it though. I'm like, who said? Who made the rules that you have to have something that nobody eats on the fucking table?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense any year. All right, we're gonna go mashed potatoes.
Oh shit. That's, you know what? I'm gonna say number 1. You know why? Because I make the mashed potatoes every year.
That's what I'm talking about.
A little Parmesan, some
Ooh.
garlic, some
Ooh.
heavy cream, Parmesan. Man, shit, it's
I need
fire.
Dom to make me some, but I'll bring some mac and cheese over. And I'll swap some out for these mashed potatoes.
Right.
Obviously, we're gonna talk about the goat, and we're gonna put it in 5th place, and it's gonna make him feel bad for being all the way in 5th place, and that's that mac and cheese,
fuck. I
baby.
should have. That's okay. No, fuck. Because
Man, you see that mac and cheese all the way down there next to the cranberry sauce,
I
folks.
know
This is insane.
I got it below vegetables and shit.
That's the whole reason why I saved mac and cheese for last. Will he rank? That's my whole entire thought process was this. I'm gonna feed him early in the conversation with I love mac and cheese just to see his vibe for mac and cheese. And then you're talking about how great it was. I was like, oh, I'm saving that for last. I'm saving it for last. But blind rankings, Dom edition for Thanksgiving: mashed potatoes, stuffing / dressing, sweet potato casserole, green beans, and or any vegetable of any sort, mac and cheese, cranberry sauce. We have so much fun with that every week. Next week, I don't know. I just there's so many different ways I could go with this, and I'm excited about it. Just because I could do movies, I could do food, I could do French fries, which is a great one. We talked about that on the podcast before, but it's just something fun that I saw somewhere along the lines, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it on the podcast. But folks, before we go, right before Thanksgiving, we're gonna give Dom Fisher the mic for 1 minute, unfiltered, to say whatever is on his mind. He's going to have 1 minute to break it down to end the podcast. For those of you at home, thank you guys so much for listening. Dom, the floor is yours.
All right. So it is Turkey Day weekend or week. And there's always a lot of conversations and things going on, whether it's pop culture, whether it's politics, whether it's the auntie who's on her 4th husband. I just ask you, whatever argument, conversation, debate that you find yourself in, know the history of what you're talking about. And I say that because recently I've been watching the discourse online about the young actress Nico, who is playing Astrid in How to Train Your Dragon, and people are upset. They're like, why couldn't she be this or that or whatever. But I will say to go back and look at movie history where a lot of Italian men played Native Americans, where Jesus is always a white guy. It's not a problem. It shouldn't be a problem for fictional characters to be played by anybody when they're not, their ethnicity or race is not a part of the character. But yeah, just know what you're talking about just a little bit. I'm tired of the copy and paste arguments of what if Black Panther was played by Tom Cruise and blah blah blah. It's different. If you don't know why it's different, you're stupid. I'm sorry. Go read a book. Move around, touch some grass. But know what you're talking about, because we know the internet now has become a platform for debates, no matter what platform you're on, for whatever reason. And this is going to translate into your Thanksgiving dinner and possibly into your Christmas dinner. So, know what you're talking about, do some research, talk to some people who are different than you, who may have a different perspective, and maybe you won't say the stupid shit that comes out of your mouth because you've been told otherwise. That's all I got.
We'll be back next week.